What's up, everybody? This is Mason. We're back with another episode. Really excited today to have my good friend and the visionary for the Nike N7 Fund, Sam McCracken, come on. So let's bring him on and learn more about N7.
What's up, Mace?
Hello, Sam. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you coming on. So for our viewers, just to kick it off, why don't you share a little bit about, what N7 is and then your inspiration for starting it?
Well, N7 is a sub brand at Nike that really brings inspiration and enablement to sport and physical activity to American Indian, Alaska Native, and First Nations communities in Canada. Really through a multiple directional approach around product. We always use the product as the inspiration, but the enablement piece is really around the work we do around the N7 Fund and the give back in our communities. And we've been providing grant resources to Indigenous communities in North America since 2009 when we issued our first grants. So it's a multifaceted approach on how we connect back with Native youth throughout all of North America. So it's a larger team that really rallies around this cause, and I'm fortunate that people believed in my ideas.
So what were you doing back in 1997 when you came up with this idea, and what was the conversation like? Were you currently a Nike employee, or did you come to Nike with this, or what was that?
Yeah, I started at Nike working in our Wilsonville distribution center. I was a shipping receiving clerk, unloading containers. I worked in distribution, honestly, because I was a high school basketball coach, and the hours would allow me to get off in time to coach basketball. So distribution was my kind of my career path. And lo and behold, I was asked to take a leadership role. When I started at Nike in 97, I was asked to take a leadership role with our diversity and inclusion employee networks around the Native American employee network. And they were asking me to kind of revitalize the network. And I met with some folks and I took on the responsibility to do that. And lo and behold, my mother, bless her heart, she shared the story with my community. I'm originally from the Peck Indian Reservation in northeastern Montana. And she shared with my family back home that I was going to be the chairman of Nike's Native American Employee Network. And the health promotions coordinator, gave me a ring and asked me would I be willing to help her get access to Nike products she could use as incentives to promote physical activity in her communities, to address the health disparities in our communities. And lo and behold, I started crafting up a plan and shared it with the right guy at the right time. And in July of 2000, they hired me to be the manager for Native American programs at Nike.
Wow, that's amazing. So, a lot of times we have entrepreneurs on the show, and I think the idea of entrepreneuring or working within your own company to really add value and see a vision through within a company is just as exciting. So how have you leveraged the resources of Nike to grow the fund, and what's your relationship like with product relative to the fund?
Yeah, it was a multifaceted approach, and that's the complex part of kind of the journey that I've been on, and the beauty of the company I get to, I've been an employer of for 23 years, Nike, and they truly embraced the passion that I had to put together a portfolio of initiatives to really address the health disparities in our community, and the health disparities in our community are pretty staggering when you look at them holistically. And the methodology around the approach was really to how can we leverage sport to create positive change in our communities. And the lady who asked me for access to those incentives really saw that Nike could be a catalyst, because she felt like people would be curious to see what Nike was doing in our communities if she provided those incentives to those folks. So they really took off from there. And, lots of folks within the infrastructure of Nike have really kind of leaned in and helped me kind of build what today is a sub brand at Nike called N7. So for a variety and mentors. So I was telling some folks earlier last week, if I needed public speaking courses, they provided those public speaking courses. If I needed to, learn how to write a strategic plan, they provided me the training and resources to write a strategic plan. And then lots of leaders leaned in and really helped me and believed in me as an individual to really follow that passion that I had to give back in my community.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the product a little bit. How, I met N7 before I met yourself. We were fortunate to meet when I played for the Trailblazers. I always knew N7 is just great product. I was always curious, the colorways were great. I love the color scheme of N7, but also the products that you guys chose to collaborate with. So let's see if we can pull up some images of products and then just take us through how you decide, like, why the Jordan 8 or, why this runner or that bag, and take us through that process.
Yeah. So, the product component really started in 2009 when we started to give grants out. And I had a conversation with our former CEO and now board chairman, Mark Parker, really about, how product could play a role in really raising the awareness in our communities and really taking a very diverse palette of communities and really tying that in. So what you see here, the Jordan Retro 8, we've had Jordan in our line a couple of times now, because, the Jordan folks understand that folks in diverse communities really resonate towards their brand, and especially in tribal communities, the Jordan brand is really strong in our Native communities, and I knew that I could help bring awareness to the work. And plus, prior to N7, to be honest with you, I was a Jordan guy. That was represented me and who I was. That brand and the mantra that they stood behind in Jordan represented me as an individual. So for me to have those conversations with those leaders in the Jordan brand to really rally around and support the cause of N7 was really inspiring to me. And then having these, the sneakers fill into the line. We traditionally had them come out in November, which is Native American Heritage Month. But we've had several different ones. We have the Retro 7. We've had the Why Not. And then as we lean into we look over to the Pegasus, running is a big part of our culture and our community. But, for us, the game changer for us around product was really bringing on Tracy Jackson, who is our graphic designer. And she's a citizen of the Navajo Nation and a graduate of the University of Oregon School of Design. And, her intern with me in 2018, I think it was 2018. I'm sure she'll chime in and correct me if I'm wrong, but for her to lean in and do this, and putting the strengths behind the overall Nike purpose strategy, and having that team really kind of rally around the mission and vision of N7, led by Izzy Asana and that team. So thank you.
Yeah, Izzy's great. We got to say hi to Izzy, who I'm sure is tuned in. So you guys did a Jordan 1 also. Now, why don't you talk? So we just pulled the image off the screen. If we could pull that basketball sneaker back up. You guys did your first individual shoe, right? So you're not iterating on something that already exists with colorways, but speak to us. You sent me a pair of these. I'm a big fan of them. Tell us about this Tinker shoe here.
Yeah, so it's called the Air Zoom Heritage. And where the Air Zoom Heritage kind of started is I was having a hallway conversation, as we do at Nike, and Tinker and I just started chatting just around, he's a big fan of N7 for your fans to know. Tinker Hatfield loves N7, and anytime that him and I can have a conversation, something good always comes from it. And for this conversation, it was really around the spirit of res ball and what basketball means to our communities. And he felt like they deserved their own sneaker. So we created this shoe called the Air Zoom Heritage. And the reason why Tinker and I kind of landed on that name and got it approved was because it's got, zoomed through the whole forefoot. You'll see some signature Tinker kind of attributes in the product, where you see the kind of the stabilization on the sides that similar to the Jordan 14, but the Zoom bag all the way across. And then the heritage, really, he wanted to pay homage to the heritage of what basketball meant in our indigenous communities in the United States and Canada. And so we landed on that Air Zoom Heritage because we thought we were really paying heritage. And then he wanted to go back to the heritage of basketball as well, with the silhouette itself having to look more old school, kind of, and a saying of how this product kind of shows up in the marketplace, a little paying homage to the heritage of basketball.
It just occurred to me, we're Nike family, we're sneakerheads. Some people may not know who Tinker Hatfield is, so can you give just a brief bio on one of the greatest shoe designers that we've ever had?
I think you did it justice, but Tinker made his name at Nike and in the sneaker world by designing some of the most iconic sneakers that have ever hit the market. The ACG line was originally a vision of Tinker. Obviously he was very instrumental in the creation of Michael Jordan's footwear through the campaign. Obviously, the iconic one is the Concord Jordan 11, which everybody knows that. That's Tinker. I'll tell a funny Tinker story. We were in the airport, and he's wearing the 11s and a Carolina blue. Sorry, but they were in a Carolina blue colorway. And as we're walking through the airport, this young man walks up to him and goes, "Oh, yeah, those are really hot sneakers. Where'd you get those sneakers?" He goes, "I happen to know the designer's wife, so I was able to get a pair." And I just started cracking up. And we just kept walking. And the guy was pretty content with the answer. I know the designer's wife, so he was able to get me a pair. So that was a pretty funny Tinker story. But
for sure,
a little bit of tributes. And during the launch of this collection, that collection of product and that sneaker, we were able to go out to Arley, Montana, and visit the Arley Warriors, who really built this whole movement around using sport as a megaphone to talk about the mental health in our communities and the suicide rate of our kids. Gotcha. And that's one of the things that Tinker has never been out to visit, kind of see Res Ball live. So we took him to a game in Arley, Montana, on the Flathead Indian Reservation, and boy, he was just like on cloud nine. People really it was just a fantastic time over there, just interacting with the folks in the community, and sold out gym, kids running up and down the court hooping, and it was a memorable moment in my career.
That's awesome. So many times with these funds, like I just think it's so interesting that you can support. It makes it easier if I'm buying a pair of shoes anyway, and I like the product, it's cool. I feel like I know what I'm supporting by buying, the Pegasus in 7 versus just the plain white Pegasus. So to me, it's neat to bring a lot of philanthropy feels so like out there. And like, if you're not giving, tens of thousands of dollars, you're not making an impact, but a lot of people buying one sneaker versus another is just as impactful. So I think that's really cool. We have a question from the audience. Jesse Munalan asks, how long does it take to create an N7 sneaker from design to production?
The length of time. So it starts with the ideation. Usually what will happen is Tracy and I, we'll talk about the current collection. Tracy and I sat down. She comes up with a graphic story for a season, what's something that inspires her. And that's probably 17 or 18 months ago. We're launching our next collection on June 21st. So that idea and that thought process went through all the ideations. We work with a product line manager to really select the right assortment that we want, the sneakers that will make up a collection. So roughly about 18 months is usually the process we'll go through from idea to market. So which is for this next collection will be June 21st, Indigenous Peoples Day. So about roughly 18 months.
Okay, so another audience question, Ari Darcy asks, I feel like I can never find N7 in stores. How can I cop a pair?
You can. I love that question. So our distribution model is really strategic, and strategic from a point of view of that we want to be in the marketplaces where people can really be excited and resonate around the product. So, for instance, Hibbett Sports, they have 1,000 stores, but Hibbett's has 51 doors dedicated to N7. And a lot of them are in Oklahoma. If you think about where our indigenous people live within the United States, that's where we strategically place those. But hey, if you're always on Nike.com and the sneakers app and got to plug the Nike.com website, that's our main platform. That's where we tell stories. That's how we, educate consumers about the work we're doing. And Nike.com is a key place. And there are 21 factory stores across the country that carry that collection as well. So it's out there. It's just you just got to become a member of Nike.com under N7, and you'll get those alerts like you do, Mace. Get that alert right away. You're ready to get that next sneaker.
For sure.
We make them in 18s just for you, Mace.
I know that Sam. For the viewers, Sam's gone out of his way so that I could have some N7 gear. So I always appreciate that. I'm a gearhead like anybody else. The one of my favorite collaborations you guys did was with college basketball. I think it was a year or two ago. Let's pull up that visual and walk us through how you decided which colleges to work with and which universities? Let me see if we can.
Yeah, this has been a really interesting program. It really started, Mason. I want to say it was 2014. There's a young man playing at Oregon State named Joe Burton, and so I had an intern that was working at the school that came to my office and was telling me about Joe. And back then, I don't know if you know, Craig Robinson was the head coach at Oregon State, so I had to sit down with Craig. Craig and I chatted, and I asked them would they be willing to wear the N7 sneakers during Heritage Month, and then he said, well, why don't we just go all in and create these uniforms? And so the uniforms came to life through Oregon State, but then they've always obviously transitioned into, many schools now embracing the idea. And the whole thought for me was, how do we tell the general population that November is Native American Heritage Month? I think if you ask the average person, they don't know. But when you see these uniforms pop on a college team and the college team of their choice, they're going to be intrigued why they're wearing them, and then what's an opportunity for us to educate. And the schools that have been part of it predominantly have a large Native American population or a direct connection to the community. And so as you'll see the schools that are selected on there, and the one I'm most proud of is Haskell Indian Nations University in Lawrence, Kansas, which is the only NIA Division I school that's all Native American university. So they're always the center focus of what we do around these college basketball uniforms.
Great. And just in case the visual is small for the viewers, we have Marquette, we got Florida State. Who do you have? New Mexico there, Oklahoma State. Am I missing anybody?
Yeah. Oral Roberts University in Oklahoma.
Awesome.
San Diego State. Traditionally does the men's team usually does a game. Yeah.
Okay, so we have another audience question. Johnson J. Scott asks, where do the funds come from N7? Where do the funds come from for N7? Fully funded from Nike, or is it something the public can support?
Well, the public can always support it. If you go to n7fund.com, the website, and I provided that to your team, they can put it up at any point. There is a donate here, but 99.9% of it comes from Nike. And the contributions and a little bit of background. So we've affected the lives of 500,000 kids since 2009 in 250 different communities at the sum of an excess of $8 million. So, we've been doing this and we're giving back and we're making a huge difference. One of our key partners out in the community that are doing great work to help really inspire our kids is the Nota Begay III Foundation. Noda and I have been friends for a long time. If you know Noda, he works for the Golf Channel. He's and played on the PGA Tour for a good 10 years, 12 years. So Noda and I have been doing this for a long time together, and his foundation has been a recipient of the funds since the beginning. So they do amazing work in our communities, and they're doing some amazing work right now.
Awesome. So Sam, what are you guys doing during the pandemic to give back to support your guys' group?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question, because for the audience that may or may not know, the pandemic has hit our Indigenous communities probably harder than most communities. I think there was a point last week when we were the Navajo Nation in the Four Corners region of the United States was the hardest hit community in the United States per capita. And for us as Indigenous people, what's the scary part is it hits that vulnerable population, and that vulnerable population is our elders. And we are a verbal community. So as we tell our stories and share our stories with our younger generations, those elders are really critically important to us. And so what we've done at the N7 Fund is we loosened the language, because traditionally if you're a nonprofit program applying for funds at the N7 Fund, we want you to really rally around sport and physical activity and really help our kids, give them an opportunity to be active and play sports. And we loosened them up this year because, as you think of the nature where we're all working from home, like I've been working from home since March 16th, sport is different now. And so we loosened up the language to allow our next grant cycle, which we'll be announcing grants around the collection launch in early June, of those communities that will receive funding for this cycle. We do it twice a year. And then what we've done is we've asked our employees at Nike to really rally around a call to action to really help provide financial resources. And as I mentioned, the Nota Begay III Foundation has really been a big part of our give back in the scene. They've distributed in excess of 1,500 food boxes to rural communities, and they continue to do that on an ongoing basis. We provided product to them to get out to the communities that are communities in need. And then we just recently will be donating some fabric to help make some masks for the community. So just a variety of different things. We've really kind of leaned in. Our Native American Employee Network, which I'm the co-chair of, has really rallied our Native employees at the company to kind of lean in and get after this from a corporate perspective, and ask those difficult questions internally so we can provide hope and hopefully some safety to our communities.
Gotcha. What's been the biggest? Give me the biggest benefit and then the biggest challenge of working with a global corporation like Nike.
Well, there's tons of benefits. Obviously, you have resources. I'm a paid Nike employee that gets to give back in our communities. Just to say that's huge for me. The belief and passion they've had for me as an individual employee, and for the employees that work around N7 has been second to none. I can't imagine doing this anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the benefits. The challenges are, there's lots of people that you have to check in with. But I've been doing this a long time, and I think my biggest thing that makes me most excited is the trust factor. The company trusts me that I'm going to do the best thing for not only for them, but I'm going to do the best thing for our community and our employees. So the trust of the ability for have them trust me, that goes a long way with me personally, because I have that security to know that not to be fearful to make a decision and reap the ramifications of that decision. That doesn't happen.
Right. Another audience question. Gary Chang asks, does Nike do anything similar for any other communities? Like, are there other collections that benefit a social good?
Yeah, through our purpose, and I would go to the Nike Purpose website. But we have a campaign around BHM, Black History Month, and I know, Mason, you're probably part of that because they work very closely with the NBA.
Yep.
The Be True collection works with the GLBTQ plus community. We're going to be kicking off Latinx community here in the near future, and I'm sure Asia and Pacific Islander are not too far around the corner.
Yeah. Well, Sam, man, this is great. This is fun to have you on. Love learning about N7. I've even learned, even though I've known you for quite a while now, but to me, again, some of the coolest product out there, even better initiative. Love what you've built there at Nike, and we look forward to seeing your continued growth and all the impact that you're having on your community.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and to your audience, the next collection drop on 6/21. So make sure you keep your eye out. And
can you give us some, like, for the viewers that took the time to tune in, what
a little sneak peek?
Yeah, a little. Do we have some shoe models, or what do we got?
Under the hood. Well, yeah. What I will tell you, and it's already leaked out, so I can tell you, if anybody that's a sneakerhead and follows sneaker news knows that we'll have another version of the N7 Kyrie coming. But you didn't hear that from me.
That's a hot shoe.
Yeah.
We love Kyrie shoe.
Yeah, Kyrie does a great job.
Yeah. So awesome, Sam. Well, again, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. This was really good.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.